couple of favorite examples of biomimicry at Interface. One was entropy, random design. And that came about because David Oakey had the biomimicry company come in and do a workshop. And so the designers went out into the field and said, how would nature make a carpet? And one of the things that we noticed when looking on a floor of leaves, that if you take one leaf away and you look down, you don't really notice the difference. There's a random order, but there's a definite color palette, that works together. And it took David Oakey's brilliance then to turn that into, what if every carpet tile was different, but in the same palette? We also did a workshop which led to tactiles. And that was this idea that, how does nature adhere? Well, we looked at, geckos and flies sticking on things and all sorts of different examples of adhesion without glue. Because what we were trying to do was get away from glue. 95% of the environmental footprint at that point was around glue. So rather than redesigning glue, we asked the basic question, how does nature adhere? And what we found, no matter where we looked, whether it was geckos or flies or other organisms, that gravity, they use physical forces. A gecko will use physical forces, tiny little bristles, to interact with the surface, and small molecular forces added up would hold it onto the floor, but it takes gravity. So that was one thing that we saw as a design principle. The other thing we saw was at the same meeting, we looked at birds' feathers and how the feathers hook together with these barbules, little shafts in the feather. It's like a self-healing zipper. That's why the bird, when its feathers get ruffled, it puts them back together by smoothing them through its beak. So we looked at this and we said, okay, what if, that table was saying, what if we could somehow attach the carpet tiles to each other with some sort of physical hooks? The other table that was talking about gravity overheard this and realized and stood up and said, wait a minute, if we hooked all the tiles together, gravity would hold them down and we wouldn't need glue. And then it took a lot of innovation to come up with tactiles, which Interface did.